What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. And as you guys can see in this week's episode, I will be talking about 5 R&B artists that I feel like are underrated right now. Um, in certain cases, these people are basically underrated for like different reasons. Like maybe there's only a few songs that people know from them. Maybe they're like older acts that they still make music, but people just hasn't been checking them out, or people just really don't know about them at all. And pretty much, I want to do this episode to to recommend to y'all, but basically get show some of these people some love. I love to give people their flowers, especially artists that I love. um Also, for any of my new subs, I love talking about music almost just as much as I love talking about film, so I try to keep it equal. Like if I talk about film, I love to talk about music in next episode and stuff like that. So you know for anybody that's new to my channel and that basically sub for the film content, just know you're still getting film content, but sometimes I do like to talk about music. But also, I'm talking about this because I did say in my channel that I want to start showing more of myself, showing more of my interests and stuff. Basically stuff outside of just this podcast and maybe a little bit of my vlogs. Like I do like to show y'all like different aspects of me. And R&B is my favorite genre, so why not tell y'all like 5 R&B artists that I feel like are underrated that I feel like you guys should be listening to. So before I get into this, I'm not ranking these people. I'm just simply naming them off like one by one. And I'm gonna say like maybe their biggest accomplishments thus far, songs that people may know from them. And I'm gonna give y'all a recommendation on what songs. I mean, only one artist on my list don't have an album. Everybody else has an album. So for the artists that don't have an album, I'll name songs from them that I feel like you guys should check out. But yeah, so with all that being said, let's get into it. One thing I like to do in my videos is I always love to add chapters. So if there's a specific artist that you guys want to hear me give my thoughts on, then look at the chapter list. But if you guys want to hear about every single person, then just continue to watch and let's get on with it. So the first artist that I want to talk about is King George. Um, to be honest, I don't know when King George started making music, but I found his music about like a year and a half ago. Me and my cousin, we kind of like artists that kind of mix country and R&B sounds together. And King George, he only has one song that somewhat mixes country and R&B together, and that's his biggest song, Keep On Rolling. But we went down like a whole R&B country artist pipeline. It started out with this guy named R&B Pooh, which that's another artist you guys should check out. And you know how like on Spotify, when you listen to one artist, it'll start recommending other artists that are somewhat similar to them. And we were listening to R&B Pooh's album, and once we finished it, King George came up next, and his song Keep On Rolling came on. And instantly me and my cousin started fucking with King George. He makes a lot of great music. And I'm someone that loves all types of music. So that's why we were even listening to like artists that kind of mix R&B and country elements together. And King George, now he is more of a traditionally R&B and soul type of person. It just Keep On Rolling was the only like song that had a little bit of country elements to it, but he's the artist that I said didn't have an album. So right now he just got a lot of singles. So if I had to recommend any singles from him, Keep On Rolling, of course, because that's his most popular. Friday Night is another one, which might be my second favorite from him. My number one favorite song from him is Don't Let Me Be Blind. And he just got a lot of songs that he just got a lot of feel good R&B songs. He got like R&B songs that you can play in the club, like Lil Wait and stuff like that. So if you guys want to hear an artist that hasn't made too much music yet, you guys want to feel him out a little bit, then King George is definitely that artist. Definitely check him out. And hopefully soon he's gearing up to release a project. I don't I do follow him on social media, but I don't really see his posts a lot. Maybe he's not showing up in my algorithm. But I hope soon that he's gearing up to drop an album because I feel like it would be a really good album. I don't think it would be like a lot of concept going on in the album, but I do feel like it would be a great collection of songs, especially if you like that more older, old school type R&B. So yeah, if that sounds like something up your alley, go check King George out. Next, we have Bobby V or Bobby Valentino. I don't know what to call him because, fun fact, years ago, in my channel before I established the podcast and before I established that I was going to do vlogs. I did somewhat try to copy DJ Academics and try to do like, news on artists and stuff like that. And I did a story on Bobby Valentino or Bobby V. I don't know what the hell to call him, but I did a story on him. And apparently there's a Hispanic singer named Bobby Valentino. Their management team reached out to me because of my YouTube video, and they told me that I had to call Bobby Valentino. I'm gonna just say Bobby V. Basically, let's just say that in the video I called him Bobby Valentino. There's a Hispanic singer named Bobby Valentino, and Bobby Valentino's management hit me up and said, this basically falls under defamation. Please call our artist Bobby Valentino and who you're talking about Bobby V for legal reasons. So ever since then, I basically just call him Bobby V. So I don't know if that still stands today. If if Bobby Valentino's team is watching this episode, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just bringing up the story. And if I have the email, maybe I should put it in the video. But then again, I don't want to show no emails. But all right, back to what I was saying. Bobby V. If you guys know who Bobby V is, his biggest songs were Slow Down, Tell Me, and he featured on Lil Wayne's song Mrs. Officer. So he was on a lot of hits in the 2000s. He has a couple of hits in the 2000s. Besides Slow Down and Tell Me, he also had Anonymous from his second album. He had another song called Beat featuring Young Jock. I think that was from his third album. So Bobby V, he was included in a lot of hits. He even had Pimpin' All Over the World with Ludacris. So he had a lot of hits, but the reason I put him on this list and I feel like he's very underrated is because, like I said, his career started in the 2000s. And when you bring him up today, people will really only talk about Slow Down or Tell Me or Mrs. Officer. But I feel like he's the type of artist where, and I listened to his whole discography, I feel like he's the type of artist where pretty much all his albums are of similar quality. They're all consistent with great quality. And to be honest, I feel like personally to me, I consider some of his albums classics. Now, they might not be classics overall in the grand scheme of like how we view music and R&B, but for me, his self-titled album, his first album, Disturbing the Peace presents Bobby Valentino. Yeah, it was called Bobby Valentino. So, Disturbing the Peace presents his first album. That is the album I recommend to y'all. But I feel like all his albums are of consistent quality, and I feel like all his albums could be considered classics. Like Disturbing the Peace, his second album. I don't know why his second album is lost on me right now, but if you guys listen to Bobby Valentino's discography, all his albums are pretty good. But if I'm gonna give y'all a recommendation, it is definitely his first album, Disturbing the Peace. There's a lot of great songs on that album. Besides the singles, you have songs like My Angel, Want You to Know Me, Give Me a Chance, the Slow Down remix, which I personally feel like is better than the original Slow Down. Um, there's just a lot of great songs on that first album, so definitely go check it out. It's called Disturbing the Peace presents Bobby Valentino. I'm gonna have the cover of the album on the side so you guys know which one to listen to. And yeah, I feel like, I know you guys may know who Bobby Valentino is, but I'm definitely saying check out his albums, check out his discography, because there's more to him than just the singles that he was on and more than the hits that he made. Next, I have Leon Thomas, who you guys may know as Andre from Victorious. And it's sad. That's pretty much most of his legacy right now is being Andre from Victorious. Whenever I talk to people about like artists that I'm listening to, I'll say like, oh yeah. And I don't call him Andre from Victorious because I put respect on his name. He is Leon Thomas. So when people ask me like, what artist do I listen to? I say, oh yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Leon Thomas, and they'll be like, "Who the hell is that?" So then I have to say Andre from Victorious, and then that's when people will know who I'm talking about. And for me, it's disappointing because it's like he should be known for more than just that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you grew up, as a 2000s kid like I did, obviously that is going to be the main thing that you're probably going to know him for. But it's like we do need to put a little bit of respect on his name. He's part of the producing team, the Rascals. He worked with artists like Drake, Rick Ross, and Kodak Black. And his first album, his first solo debut album that came out last year, Electric Dusk, in my opinion, would be considered a classic if more people listen to it. And that's the album I'm recommending to y'all from him, of course, because that's his only album. But he does have a mixtape. But if there is a project from him that I recommend that y'all listen to, it's definitely Electric Dusk. Every single song on the album, besides Blue Hundreds, I don't. Not that I don't like Blue Hundreds, but Blue Hundreds is a song I really don't listen to a lot. But Electric Dusk, almost every song on the album is amazing. From the intro song Slow Down to the outro Treasure in the Hills to the singles that he put out like Crash and Burn and Love Jones and Breaking Point. Even songs that are deep cuts on the album like My Will, Social Light. Like there's just so many great songs on that album, and he's done so much great things in music. He even co-wrote Snooze with wait, did he co-wrote or produce? He basically worked on Snooze by SZA. So he's done a lot in his music career besides being Andre and Victorious. So not only am I telling y'all to listen to his album, but I'm also telling y'all to put some respect on his name. He definitely done a lot in, the time that he was off of Nickelodeon, to where we should not just only be calling him Andre from Victorious. He definitely deserves a lot more credit. And, you know, typically artists take 2 to 3 years to drop another album, and he dropped Electric Dust last year, so I'm hoping that next year we do get a new album from him. Currently he is on tour with Blast, so hopefully once he get off tour he'll be making another album. But just from the excitement that you guys see that I have for Leon Thomas's music, definitely go check him out. He blends a lot of different musical styles together because he knows how to play a lot of instruments. So, of course you get R&B, you get soul, but he also blends a lot of rock, a little bit of folk. Like he blends a lot of different elements together. So definitely check him out. And like I said, check out a lot of the music he also worked on. Because if you like Leon Thomas, check out artists that he worked with, especially like SZA, but she's not underrated. So but yeah. Electric Dust, like I said, I'm gonna have the covers on the side. So yeah. Now, this one, I think out of all of them, pisses me off the most when I talk about her, and that is JoJo. And the reason this one pisses me off the most is because of JoJo Siwa. You guys don't know how many times I tell people, like, yo, you should listen to JoJo. Or, who do you listen to, Tevin? Oh yeah, I listen to a lot of JoJo. And people will always think that I'm talking about JoJo Siwa. No, JoJo, 2000s JoJo. Leave, Get Out, or A Little Too Late JoJo. That's the JoJo that I know, and that's the only JoJo I acknowledge. JoJo Siwa is not to hate on her, but she's a joke. I don't listen to her music. JoJo. Listen to JoJo. And I'm going to have her picture on the side somewhere. But yeah, so JoJo, I don't think she needs too much of an introduction because out of everybody on this list, besides Bobby Valentino, she probably had the most success um, out of everybody on this list. Of course, I named her biggest songs Leave, Get Out from her debut album and A Little Too Late from her second album. And if I had to recommend an album to you guys, of course, her very first album, self-titled. The way that I got into JoJo's music now, of course, like I said, I was a 2000 kid. So I knew her songs Leave, Get Out, and I knew her song A Little Too Late, of course, since that's her biggest song, and I've definitely heard that in movies before. But it wasn't until earlier this year, actually, that I delved into her discography because on Twitter, like I said, I love music, I love R&B music. So I found like a Twitter thread of old R&B songs that they were recommending that a lot of people don't listen to as much. And her song Baby It's You featuring Bow Wow was on there. And I was like, "Wait, this is a little too late, JoJo? I didn't know she made like very R&B sounding songs like that cuz A Little Too Late is R&B, but it's also very pop as well. But Baby It's You is definitely like straight up R&B, like 2000s R&B music. And I was like, I didn't know JoJo made music like this. So I was banging like Baby It's You for like a whole week straight. And then I was like, you know what? Let me actually go back and listen to her first album. And her first album definitely has a lot of great songs on there. Now, of course, it's a white teenage girl making the album, but truth be told, there's a lot of songs on there that I still connect to, and also it's just a feel good album. Like, it's you listen to the album and you have a great time with it. One thing that I was big on last year was that I was kind of falling out of love with rap and falling out of love with a lot of modern day music, because I feel like a lot of modern day music, it doesn't leave me with a good feeling. Like a lot of the music that comes out today, and I'm not trying to sound like an old head when I say this, but a lot of music that comes out today kind of makes me feel gloomy. Like there's a lot of sadder music, a lot of more depressing music coming out. And while there is still space to make that type of music, because people should express themselves any way possible, and I still like a lot of sad music as well, but for the most part I want to hear music that makes me feel good. And JoJo's first album, actually I could also say her second album as well, like her first two albums are very similar in vibes. So it's just like when you listen to her first two albums, they are very feel good type albums. And it's crazy because if I had to recommend another album from her, it would be her latest one, Trying Not to Think About It, which is crazy because her first album is very upbeat, leaves you very happy. And then her latest album, which I think came out in 2021 or 2022, Trying Not to Think About It, definitely a gloomier album. So it's kind of crazy that like the two albums that I'm recommending to y'all are polar opposites. But if there is one of the two that I recommend the most, it is her debut album. But truth be told, I want y'all to listen to her whole discography because I feel like I was one of those people that fell victim to the I only know the hit songs from the person. Because like I said, for the longest, I only known JoJo for Leave or for A Little Too Late. But now that I've took like a whole deep dive, like I've really took a big deep dive into JoJo's discography this past year, like from her debut album to her newest album to her scrapped albums to her mixtapes. Like when I say that I went into the rabbit hole of JoJo's music, I mean that shit. Like I really went into a whole deep dive into JoJo's music. So if you guys only know JoJo for her hit songs, definitely listen to her debut album and just listen to any actually album from her discography. I will keep it real because I'm also a very honest person. There is two albums in her discography that I'm kind of like iffy on. If I can, I'm gonna pull up her discography real quick. The only ones that I'm kind of iffy on is Mad Love and Good to Know, just because she does do a lot of pop music as well, and those two are more pop influenced. But for her albums that are more R&B influenced, I definitely love them. Try Not to Think About It, The High Road, and JoJo are definitely albums that I recommend because they're more R&B influenced. But even if you listen to her pop albums, just support JoJo in any way, shape, or form, because her original label, I think it was called Blackstreet, her original label did her dirty. So you know, just support JoJo in any way, shape, or form because she's definitely been through it. Her story is definitely, very impactful and definitely, an inspiring story. Because, truth be told, it's crazy that she's still making music to this day, especially with a lot that she's been through. And there's still more to her story that we don't even know about, which I'm going to do a shameless plug. Like it's my book, but it's hers. She has a book coming out in September called Over the Influence. It's a memoir from her where I think she, from what I've read, is going to detail her early life, basically up to, when she got out of her bad label situation. And from the little bit that she's told of her story, she's been through a lot. So I can't wait to personally read it. I'm someone that wants to get back into reading books. So I feel like this book is definitely going to be a great reintroduction back into reading for me and stuff. But yeah, Over the Influence. Check that book out when it comes out in September. She also indicated that she is going to make an album to go along with the book. So be on the lookout for that. The album might be coming soon. But until then, definitely go check out her older music. Like I said, definitely out of all her albums, I recommend her self-titled album JoJo. But if you want to listen to any other album from her, something that's, more adult and more recent, then Trying Not to Think About It is definitely another one. And then the last artist that I want to talk about, and like I said, I know I'm not ranking these, but I saved this person for last because, truth be told, he is my favorite artist of all time, especially if he dropped more music. But just from his one album alone, he is easily my favorite artist of all time, and that is Kwabs. Now, you guys may be wondering who the hell is Kwabs. He's a UK artist that makes R&B music, of course, but he definitely delves into pop and especially gospel influences. So the way that I got into Quabs is, as you guys may know, one of my favorite shows of all time is the original Power, starring Omari Hardwick and created by Courtney Kemp and 50 Cent. But when I first got into Power, I got into it around the season 4 mark. So I did like a whole binge watch of the show. And in the season 4 premiere, I heard this one song playing from Quabs, and it was called Last Stand. And I was like, yo, this song sounds amazing. This sounds like my type of vibe. So I went to go look up the song. I went to go look him up, and I realized that I actually heard one of his songs before, and his most popular song is called Walk, which was featured in, I think, FIFA 2016, 20. I don't know which FIFA game it was featured in, but Walk was featured in FIFA. And while I don't play FIFA, one of my friends from high school played it, and that's where I heard his song Walk. And then hearing his song Last Stand from Power, I'm like, okay, I need to dive more into his music. Now, he got a couple of EPs out. Um, he got the Last Stand EP, which of course includes the song Last Stand. He has another EP, which I think is called Pray for Love. He just got a lot of EPs out, but what solidified him as one of my favorite artists of all time is his album Love and War. In my personal opinion, I know a lot of people say there's no such thing as perfect, but Love and War, in my opinion, is, if you won't take me saying that it's a perfect album, then I'll say that it's the closest thing to perfect. Love and War is, honestly, if I could sing, Love and War is the type of album that I'm pretty sure I would have made. Like, he delves into the topic of love in a lot of different ways. And I feel like you got to know his backstory in order for the album to also hit just as much. Because from what I read in his backstory, he basically grew up in the foster care system. He also grew up very influenced by the church. And when I say that he explores love in this album, it's not even just like the typical, like, oh, I love this girl, I hope she loves me back, or like just talking about relationships. Like, he talks about love in a lot of different aspects. He does talk about romantic love, he talks about breakups, he talks about, falling in love with somebody that has a partner. But I feel like the deeper cuts on the album, like Cheating on Me, where he talks about how he doesn't love himself enough. And then even songs like Father Figure, where, like I said, he grew up in the foster care system. So, he talks about how he's never had like a father figure to look up to and how he still looks for that. Like, Quab's music is just so beautiful to me, and like I said, it's the mixture of R&B, pop, and especially gospel influence. Because let me tell y'all, I am Christian. My parents are like big Christians, like basically forced me and my brothers to go to church every weekend. I won't say forced because but they definitely push for us to go to church every weekend. And while not to get too deep, while I want to be better as a Christian and stuff like that. And I will say that like gospel music sometimes, and I know it's very funny to say because it's gospel music, but sometimes it can feel a little too preachy, in my opinion. But I feel like Quab's gospel influences are just perfect enough to where it's like, okay, it's definitely influenced by gospel. It's definitely influenced by his church upbringing, but it doesn't feel corny to me. It feels like very good. So, he mixes a lot of elements in his music, and I love how he doesn't just talk about love in a basic form. And he's also someone that's not afraid to ask the hard questions. Like the very second song of the album, actually the first two songs of the album definitely makes you think about like how people fight for love. And yes, the second song on his album is called Fight for Love, but it's definitely asking hard questions like, why would you fight for love in a lot of cases when it hurts people? And also he asks questions like, why are you so faithful to something that you've truthfully never felt? Like he asks a lot of the deeper questions on love, and he talks about love in a lot of different aspects. So that's why I love his album. I'm getting tired of saying the word love personally myself, but that's why I recommend his album, because it's not just a basic romance R&B love type of album, but it is an album that kind of makes you think, especially if you're listening to the lyrics and his voice. He definitely has a very God gifted voice. Like that voice is amazing. I'm not even trying to glaze or dicky or nothing like that, but he definitely has a very beautiful voice, which makes me so angry that he's not putting out more music. But truth be told, it's also because he started having vocal problems, so he has been kind of taking a break from making music because he wants to recover his voice and stuff like that. But here's the thing, he dropped Love and War in 2015. And I found his music in 2017. For anybody complaining about Rihanna not dropping an album, for anybody complaining about Kendrick not dropping an album, for anybody complaining about Frank Ocean dropping an album, ASAP Rocky, no matter what artist you can think of where they took a long time to drop an album, Kwabs has literally topped them. This motherfucker dropped his album in 2015, so far long ago that Fetty Wap was literally the only feature on his album. Fetty Wap. Do you know how long ago it was since Fetty Wap was a big artist? So for Kwabs to drop his album in 2015 when Fetty Wap was big and he has not dropped an album since, it is crazy. Oh man. But like I said, he is trying to get his vocals, back in shape. He is trying to get his voice back together. And also he has been doing a lot of, social work. He's been speaking out on a lot of social issues and world issues and stuff like that. So, you know, he's not fully focused not just on music. He has a lot more causes and more important things going on in his life. But at the same time, it's also like Quabs. Fans like me that are fighting to, have your album listened to and stuff like that. Like I said, I know he has a lot more important things going on, but it's like for people like me that fights to get your name out there, to have people respect and listen to your music. It's like, come on, bruh. You need to feed us a little bit. Like, I know you dropped singles, I think back in 2022, but we need something. It's 2024. We need something, Quab. So, in the rare chance that you're watching this episode, definitely, please drop some new music, Quab. We need it. We need it. But yeah, y'all. So, if it wasn't already obvious, Love and War, that's his only album. So, that's the album that I'm recommending to y'all. And with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is something a little bit different since I know that recently, like I said, I've been getting a lot of views and subs from my more film related videos. But this is something a little bit different, more recommendations and stuff like that. Also, I felt like showing love in this episode because last night, if you follow me on Instagram, I did post like a rant on my Instagram story that kind of came off haterish. So I want to take off some of the hater energy and spread a little bit of love out there. So, like I said, King George, Bobby V, Leon Thomas, JoJo, and Kwabs. Check out their music. I don't know if I can leave Apple Music links to their albums down below, but if I can, I'll leave it down below. I'll actually no, I'll do one better because I know artists nowadays be putting like their music, their like albums on YouTube and stuff. So I'll leave their albums down in the description. The ones that I recommend, I'll leave down in the description. And yeah, like I said, this was something different, so I hope y'all enjoyed it. But with all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.